Hello, friends. Welcome to the Build and Run podcast. This is a real VR podcast for Unity developers. We are here with the fantastic NYC VR University, most likely the best Unity user group on earth. We have just been covered in swag from Unity, the Unity user group t-shirts that so magically embezzle our chests. And we're here to teach you, today's lesson is gaze control. So let's start going over quickly what we're going to use to show you this. This is all going to be available on Build and Run, build-run.com, and this time we will actually have a screen recording so you could follow along in high definition screen. Yes, do a timer too. That's an excellent idea. So what we're going to do right now is in 25 minutes or less, actually probably 24 by now, we will teach you how to use gaze control from scratch in Unity. Now, what is Unity? Unity is essentially the foremost tool for creating cross-platform 3D worlds. It is the Minecraft of pros. It is literally $1,000 a year piece of software that they let you use for free. It's like having a Maserati or a Ferrari where they're like, hey, just do what you want with it. Just you can't use the vanity license plate, and you can't use maybe the cup holders. But otherwise, it's all yours. So this $1,000 a month, a year piece of equipment, this tool, literally the foremost tool for creating VR, is available to us for free. So you go to unity3d.com, download it, and it works basically on almost every system. I've run it on little tiny netbooks and everything. So we're going to start with Unity. Unity is what we're going to make this VR. Did I not? Thank you. That's important, right? Well, the screen doesn't really need to be recorded while I'm introducing this, but the idea of this is there's no editing. I'm not going to come back and figure out, oh, well, went wrong. We're actually going to do this live. Everything's going to load live. And literally, if you have 25 minutes, if you have an hour to watch Kardashians or whatever, you have 25 minutes to make an amazing VR world with control. And that's basically what we're going to do. So we start, you get Unity, you install it, and you're greeted with this prompt, right? This is basically how you start your project. So I'm going to start a new project. What you call your project is pretty important because it will kind of it will show up everywhere. It'll be the name of the folder. Let's record. Excellent. Now we're rocking. Beautiful. So we'll call this gaze control because what we're going to teach you today is gaze control. What is gaze control? So when you're in a VR world, you have, at the very simplest, you have a cardboard experience. So your phone tracks your head, or any other VR equipment tracks your head's position, and it gives back where you're looking at. This is literally the most intuitive interface on Earth ever made. That is completely cross-cultural, cross-lingual, cross-platform. It is something that in every language there is something. There is like a mira, there is always a voila. My one-year-old son says it best, and it's because that's what it is. You basically look at something and you want that to happen, something that you're looking at. And you don't need to say, it's common not only to us humans, it's common to other animals. It is literally the most primitive, the most basic rudimentary control that needs no introduction, needs no lessons. It is completely intuitive. And what we're going to do is literally teach you how to use that. Use the capability of Unity, which has all of the mathematics behind this experience, and it gives back where you're looking. And that's very important for a lot of things. So we're going to start with, open up this brand new Unity scene. Now my Unity scene may look slightly different than yours, because I have a custom layout, right? So I go to this layout and I go 2x3. Yours, then it starts out like this, and then I take this project and I move this down here, and I kind of move that, and like that. And that is just my own personal preference because that's how I like to roll. That's how I like to use my Unity, and it's very flexible, so you could always change it. It starts with this default layout here. And this is the Unity scene. This is basically what you're looking at. This hierarchy is what is in your scene. A scene is the world that you're creating. So we're going to start this. This has a main camera and a directional light. So basically a camera that you can see out of and a light that illuminates the screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop in Google Cardboard. And this is found on this website, and this will be available to you as well. So if you just Google Google Cardboard, or if you Google the word Google, what happens? SDK, yes. And Unity. You could type in Unity, but it'll take you there. And bam, there you go. Let's, if I was on the right network. And Unity, as this is a double click the package that I downloaded, right? And I'll go ahead and import that. So there you go. This is where I went to download and samples. And I downloaded this right here, directly into Unity package. Go ahead and open that up. And now what I'm treated with is Google Cardboard. Google Cardboard is the simplest, most rudimentary way to experience VR. You could literally port VR onto your phone, your Android, your Windows phone. And what it does is it breaks down the screen into two halves. So one for your right eye and one for your left eye, and it uses the accelerometer and the gyroscope in your phone to actually measure the position of your head. So as you move your head, it will update the screen and make you literally feel like you're in a VR world. And what we do here is we work. Unity has this fantastic. Most of this actually I'm going to do almost without coding. And the way I'm going to do it is drag and drop. And Unity is really fantastic in their drag and drop. And one of the great things they have in their drag and drop system really is these things called prefabs. Now prefabs are really just things that I could take and drag and drop anywhere. So inside, when I installed this cardboard, it created this folder in my assets called cardboard. If I go here into the prefabs, I can take cardboard main, which is cardboard's everything for cardboard, and just drag it in there. And what this does is it literally gives me a main camera for cardboard. What I would do then is take away the old camera. So I just take this and hit delete. So now I have cardboard main as my camera. Now if I hit play right here, and that is if I hit this button that says play, it literally previews my scene. And you can see if I hold down Alt, I can look around. And if I build this, it will literally build on my cardboard and I can look around. So looking around is the first part. The next part is let us have something to move around in, right? So I took from this asset, so Unity has just released a package called VR samples. So you get this, and this comes with amazing stuff. But it really, just all these great models, everything that works really well in VR, very low poly, easy to render things. And what I'm going to use is this maze here. This maze is already set up with colliders, essentially, so that you can bump into the walls, and it gives you a place to run around in, right? If we're going to use gaze for motion, which is what we're going to do in this section, we're going to want a place to run around in. So this will be our place. And I have created that in one of these folders. And once I find that, I will just put it in here. Let's see. Good. And this, what it does is it does the same thing. We're really going into these prefabs. Prefabs are magic. They're a way for you to develop without coding, without getting deep into it. You could literally be very high level. Just drag and drop. Drag this here, drag that, drop that here, and you create scenes. So what this did, right? So I double click this, and all these files will be available to you, but they're all free online too. And what I did was I created, where did it go? So it should have a prefab, and then it is in my prefabs folder, and there's the maze, right? So I take this prefab, and you see the prefabs, they always have this little blue cube. And there it is, bam, the maze, right? Perfect. So now we have the maze. And if the way you navigate here is you're in this scene view, right? This is basically the part where you can move around and make edits. And if I hold down the Option key, I can kind of do some rotation around the center. And that gives me a little bit of freedom to move. And the more comfortable you are moving in this creation space, the better you'll be at creating all of these experiences. So, take a look at, there's my cardboard controller, and it's basically right on this turret, which is cool, but that's not completely where I want it. And I'm just gonna move it like over here, right? Nice. So it starts off at like a place in the maze where it's not directly in the line of fire, right? You don't want to start off right next to the turret. And I actually deactivated the turret for this because I just want to show you how to move. I'm not going to get deep into, we can have like enemies chasing you in here and all this fun stuff, but we're just going to talk about movement. So in here, we're going to add a component. So this is cardboard main. This is what we dragged in. This is our cardboard. This is our us. This is us in that world space. This is how we see it from this angle, from this, essentially this prefab. I'm going to rename this thing player so that we don't get confused, right? This is the player. This is you in this world. And you start here in the base. And one thing we want to start with is we want to start with physics. Unity has this physics already built in. You don't have to write the complex matrix math, essentially, to make physics. You don't have to go deep into taking the red pill? You could stay in the blue pill. You could stay in the world of drag and drop, and just, what I would do is I hit add component, and I start typing rigid body. I don't even have to type the whole word. I type RI, and then it pops up. There you go, rigid body. And this, with rigid body, gives us all of physics. It gives us mass, drag, which is essentially the friction of an object. The mass is how hard is it to move, how much potential energy it has, and then all the other physics constants. And then I want to add a collider. So if I just play this like this, you'll see, right? I play it, all of a sudden, I go flying through the earth all the way down to the core of the earth, because that's what happens if in physics, right? If you're just in a place and all of a sudden you have gravity act on you, you just drop to the floor. And we want to drop onto the maze. We want to essentially collide with it. So what we do is we add a collider. We call it, there's a bunch of different colliders. We're going to use what's called a capsule collider. And look, just CAPS, and there, I don't have to type. Like the world we live in, where forget coding, forget all this. We just, a few keystrokes, and magical worlds are here for us. And then we look at this collider, and we can actually see it here, right? If the collider shows up in green, and you see this green kind of sphere, and I'm just going to take the dimensions of the collider, and I'm just going to adjust them. I'm going to increase the height a little bit, and I'm going to take the center of it and offset it so that basically my camera's on top of it, right? And now I drop that, and I play it, and here I am. I'm in the world, right? I could look around, and I'm on the maze. Pretty sweet, right? We're really halfway there, and we have so much time to spare. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. No, we don't. But let's go right into it. So what I'm going to do is I want to start adding interactivity, right? And for that, we will need code. We will need a very small bit of code. It will be literally one line of code that will get us where we need to get. So we'll start with, we'll call it player controller. And I'll make a second one because I already have one in here. So if I add a component and I just start typing, it automatically, and if it's not something that's in the inventory, like a collider or a rigid body, it's like, oh, you want to do something custom, right? So then it automatically creates a script for me. So just by typing something random into the add component field, you can create a script without having to go to add component and then script and stuff like that. So you can hit new script here and kind of do it the hard way, or you just start typing and Unity takes care of that. So right here, bam, I'm going to go into this script. This is what scripts look like in Unity. Start usually with these two lines. This is the main system collections that you need to run most of the code. Basically, if you've ever seen a poem, if you've ever memorized any small piece of Valentine's Day card or whatever, or whatever you needed to memorize. This is so much less than that. If you just see this and you, without even understanding it, just memorize this, you would be comfortable with it. And so you don't really have to go deep into it. I'm not going to, but basically this is it. It starts with this is the name, the class name here. This is void start. So this is the function that runs literally when you begin. When this piece of code enters, it becomes available, it runs what's in start. And this is update. This runs literally called once per frame. So there are a bunch of frames, anywhere between 30 and 90 usually, and it will run every one of those frames. And this is what I want. I wanted something that runs every frame, because what I want to do is I want to check if the player has touched the mouse, or in a cardboard case, it is the trigger. So whether you touch the screen or use the trigger or magnetic trigger back in the day, it is that. So how do I do that? Very simply. It is if, and that is it, right? So if means if this happens, right? So, and the cool thing with Unity is there's all this great code completion. So I will start with what I'm looking for is input. And I just type in, bam, input. Dot. So I'm going deeper. What is it about the input that I want to see? And I want to see input dot get button. And which button do I want? Right? So this is, and as you see, like as I'm typing this, it's showing me. It's like, okay, the get button is the function, and you pass in a string called button name. So what is the button name? Button name is Fire1. Fire1 works on Google Cardboard, it works on Android, it works on iPhone, it works on HoloLens, it works on PlayStation, it works on literally it works on the Mac, on the PC, on Linux. Fire1 is the same. It is the mouse button, it is the main trigger that you have. So if happens, if I get button 1, right, and I close this parentheses, so if that happens, this is what I want to do, right? So what I want to do is I want to get components. So I don't know, this code does not know where that rigid body, that physics element is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find it. I'm going to say get component, bam, get component, and I'm going to say rigid body is the kind of component I'm going to get. And it already fills it in for me. Bam, look at this. I barely have to type anything. And then I'm going to do this little open and close parentheses. It's very important because it is a function. So that, I'm going to get the rigid body component. So that will give me the rigid body, the physics element. What I want to say to it is I'm going to add force. I'm going to take this physics element, this player, us, and I want to add force. I want to move us. I want to get us going. Right? So add force. And what is add force? It needs a vector 3. So it needs literally to know which way do you want me to throw you. Right? And I'm going to say, I want you to throw me where I'm looking. Right? So I'm going to say camera. And this way we can access the camera. So every Unity scene, every game, every immersive experience has always a camera. And we're going to reference that camera. We're going to say, hey, where's the camera looking? And camera.main, which is the main camera, because there could be more than one camera. And then we're going to go transform, which is the position in space, essentially, of that camera. Dot forward. And that is forward from where that camera is looking. And we're going to multiply it by, let's say, 10. And then that's the one line of code. That's all we need. So we take this, we save it, and here we go. Right? Whoa. Okay. Whoa, now we're tumbling around, right? We're tumbling around because it's all real physics. So since this is a capsule, it literally rolls around like a capsule. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freeze the rotation. I'm going to freeze the rotation in the X and maybe all of these. Let's see if that works. Okay, I can look around. And there I am moving around. Cool? And you stop automatically because there's drag. This is physics. Right? So that's it. Now we're moving. We're moving around. We can see ourselves in space. There we are. Cool. Right? So we're set. And we're going to save this as a scene. This is now going to be a scene. I'm going to save this as maze. And then anytime I want to come back to this, it's going to look exactly like I saved it. But it looks kind of bland, right? So what I like to do is I like to make it a little more fun right away. And one of the reasons it looks so bland is it's so bright, right? So this directional light, it makes it just fully illuminated. Let's take that out. Let's just delete that. All right, it's a little darker now, right? It's a little more immersive, more like, oh, this is the zombie apocalypse for Unity t-shirts that we're talking about. And I'm going to go right into the head, right? Because what I want to do is I want to add a spotlight to the head. So wherever I'm looking, and if I hold down Command, it goes into 15 degree increments. So it makes me a little more precise. And I'm going to just change some of these values here, right? So I'm going to change the spot angle and make it like 5. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally nest this spotlight under player. So essentially what's going to happen actually I'm going to nest it under head. So when the head moves, this spotlight is with it. So it is like, it is called a child of the head. So when it is, when the head is going to move, everything that the head does, the spotlight will do. And this gives us a nice little effect, like so, right? It's almost like a vignette, like you really bring the attention to the scene, and it gives you a little bit of fear, right? A little bit of like, I don't know what's around the next corner. Right? So that's it. You now have a flashlight. This is more like a real game. Right? So I'm going to save this. First I have to stop the play, and then I'm going to save. Nice. I'm going to call this Maze Night. Good. Beautiful. So that's how we basically make games. That's the beginning of game making. It's not the end of it though, right? So let's say we take this player. This now is something that we can use, we can reuse. We've already done that one line of code, right? It's super hard. We didn't even type most of it. Now we can take this, the thing that moves around, we can move around anywhere. So I'm going to take this player, and I'm just going to drag it right here into my assets. By dragging it, see, drag and drop. Automatically it turns into a prefab. So now if I want to open up another scene or another place to run around in, essentially, right? So I would go into prefabs. Let's see if I have anything here. And let's go out, and I'll try to find, I made a nice little room. Essentially, you could use this also for architecture. So if I find gaze control, beautiful. And in here I have a room. And this will import the room prefab for me. And the room works the same way as the maze does. So let's say I have a client that is an architecture firm, and they want to see what it would be like to explore a building. I would take the building and throw it in here and be able to walk around this same exact way. And here I am. Bam, throw the room in here. And get rid of the maze. And find where my room is. There's my room. And there's my player. And I'm just going to take the player, move right here to the room. Whoop. And notice I'm doing this without even a mouse. This is all with the trackpad. You could do this on the train. You could do this with any machine, anywhere. Bam, so here you go. Now this is a architectural rendering with no floor. Why is there no floor?
Probably below it.
It's possible. I could be below the floor, but no, that wouldn't make any sense, the floor. But let's try it. Still falling through. Let's see. We are still recording good. There is no collider on the floor apparently, right? That would be the problem. And that's what happens. If you don't put a collider on the floor, you will fall through it. Let's try again, because it looks like there should be a collider on the floor. But this is the exact same idea. So you take Let's just go on the table, right? Let's